We'll go ahead and get started.
Namaste. Welcome this chilly Saturday morning, and thank you all for joining me. I know many of you have been here and know my name is Lori, but for the recording, my name is Lori White, and today we'll be practicing a Hatha class, and I'd like to focus on finding effort and ease in our practice. So you may have heard Patanjali mentioned before, or the Yoga Sutras, and that's a book that Patanjali's Yoga Sutras is a book that many of us use and it discusses a yoga practice, but more in a meditation sense. It does mention asana and some ways. And I want to kind of weave that into our practice today and asana and build upon asana, which we've discussed before, and what that means. And that meaning the seat of our practice. So as an example here, I have this book by Indu, or she's really great. And here she has a really great definition of asana, meaning to become that which you are going to practice. And it's a seat for the mind. Yoga is also a state, not just a physical practice that we think of, this asana practice. It can be a state of mind, or thought of as that. Samadhi is basically a word for enlightenment, if you will, in the Yoga Sutras. And really, it's not something that's not unattainable. It is attainable. And one way to think of that could be, at the end of your practice, when we're lying in Shavasana, we all get that lovely feeling of being okay, feeling complete, feeling whole. And by that, complete within, and then that with surrounding you, that above you, that below you, just that all encompassing. And so being able to try to find that during our practice and in our poses, and balancing that ease and effort, where yes, our physical practice can be very challenging, but that should not distract from being able to soften into, which, releasing the tension that we're holding, being able to breathe deeply and evenly and focus on the energy flowing through the body, if that makes sense. So one phrase would be steadiness and ease, and giving our practice, or we can use that steadiness and ease as a gauge for our practice. So if we find that the breath, we're holding it, or it's not fluid, that's usually a good indication that we're overdoing it. So just using that to meet you where you are today, if that makes sense. And just remember that we are all in different places every day. Last night I was practicing yin in my own practice, and I was so fidgety in every single pose. But I recognized that, and I realized that's where I am today. But also knowing that that is a practice, and yoga in general is a practice. Every day our experience is different. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And we'll begin on our backs today. You can bring either flat feet to the mat or extend the legs long. Releasing the lower back down into the mat. Maybe arms reach out, just whatever feels comfortable for you and allows you to relax. Kind of drop in for the moment, acknowledging the body and mind. Beginning to notice all the places where we're making contact with the surface beneath us, and allowing these areas to feel a little heavy, feel weightiness here as we allow ourselves to be supported. Scanning the body, becoming aware of how you're feeling today, sensations occurring throughout the body, any holding, mental or physical. And then beginning to extend our awareness out into our surroundings. So noticing the sounds occurring within our space, knowing that we are practicing in a safe space, giving ourselves permission to be wherever we are today and taking agency of our own practice, working within our range of motion. Bringing one hand to the belly and one hand to the heart. Noticing the rise and fall of the chest and or abdomen as we settle the internal gaze upon the breath. On our next inhalation, we'll inhale through the nose, drawing the breath deep down into the lower lobes of the lungs, allowing the stomach to expand, releasing the lower back down into the mat, and as you exhale, drawing the navel in towards the spine, pushing the air back up and out through the nose. Continuing this breath. That's on the heart will bring down to meet the hand upon the belly, and then separating the hands so that each hand is resting upon the belly and is below the rib cage. Taking a deep breath in, breathing into the fingertips, and as you exhale, giving yourself a slight press into the diaphragm. We're just stimulating the diaphragm a little bit here. Inhale, breathing into the fingertips, and again, as you exhale, slight little press down, not too deeply so that it's uncomfortable. And continuing this for a few breaths. And then gently releasing the arms out into a T. Palms first facing up. Allowing the chest to begin to expand. And then palms facing down. Changing the rotation. And then flipping the palms up and then down about 10 times. Scanning the body, becoming aware of any holding. And again, finding ease, effort and ease, trying to balance the two. When we have a calm mind, we have a calm body. Pausing with the palms facing down, deep breath into the belly and exhale it out. Palms facing up, inhale, arms reach up, and then crossing the arms one over the other as if you're going to bring the fingertips down towards the mat with arms crossed, like you're giving yourself a big hug. And then inhale, arms open wide. Once again, palms facing up. As you exhale, bringing arms inward, and then reversing the arm that's on top, again, giving yourself a hug. And then inhaling, opening arms wide. And continuing this pattern, rotating which arm is on top, opening arms wide. We'll do one more round. to, or upwards towards the corners of your mat, so they're in a V. Just notice how this might change the pose for you, or what you're feeling anyway. Bringing flat feet to the mat, knees facing up, widening the feet about mat width apart. As you exhale, releasing both knees over towards the right. They do not have to come all the way down to the mat. Inhale, drawing knees up to center, and exhale over to the left. Continuing again, inhaling up, exhales, we bring the knees to the right. Nice and slow, this is at your pace. And then over to the left. And adding some mindfulness to this. So as you inhale, drawing knees up, notice the hips being placed firmly on the mat. As you exhale, begin to notice when maybe the left hip comes up as the knees go to the right. Notice when it comes back down to center. And then as the knees rotate to the left, notice when the right hip comes up off the mat. So combining the effort and ease and finding that balance all works with meeting ourselves where we are and not necessarily forcing ourselves into a position because we think that's what it should be or look like, but working within our own bodies. So knowing your range of motion and being able to identify that will help us in our practice. So we'll pause with the knees up, taking a deep breath in and exhale it out. Coming up onto all fours, so we'll meet in tabletop. Stacking wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. Welcome to use a blanket underneath the hands if the wrists are uncomfortable, or underneath the knees. Spreading fingers wide as we inhale, sinking abdomen down, softly looking forward. Cow pose. Taking a moment here. And then as you exhale, rounding spine, tucking chin to chest, and press the vertebrae up towards the sky. Maybe taking a moment here and pressing the hips back and just kind of working that flexion down the vertebrae. And then again, as you inhale, sinking abdomen down, softly looking forward, elbows soften, grounding into the hands, into the shins. And as you exhale, chin to chest, rounding spine, pressing it up, grounding into the hands as you do this. Continuing at your own pace, warming up the spine. Just warming up the body here. One last round. So after your next exhalation, we'll meet in neutral tabletop. Deep breath in, and as we exhale, walking hands forward, rounding again into the hands, releasing hips back and up, coming into our Hatha asana, or melting heart, also known as puppy, opening up the shoulders and spine in a different way, maybe the chest. What you feel will be dependent on each individual. Taking a deep breath here, and exhale it out through the mouth. Maintaining the legs as they are. As you inhale, beginning to walk both hands over toward the right. And pause here and notice wherever you would like to stop. And again, finding ease in your pose. So if you notice something doesn't feel good and you start to hold the breath, walk the hands a little bit more towards center. If you notice the left hip is starting to Pull forward or to the right. Walk the hands a little more towards center. Envision drawing the breath into the left side of the body. As you inhale, walking hands back to center, giving the spine a moment to rebound. And pause here. Exhaling, walking both hands over toward the left. This time be mindful of the right hip. Envisioning drawing the breath into the right side of the body. Tuning in to the breath. Becoming aware of the actions occurring throughout the body. Inhaling back to center once again. And pausing here for a moment. Walking the hands underneath shoulders. Opening knees wide, big toes together, pressing hips back towards heels. Child's pose, Balasana. Deep breath in and exhale it out. Inhale, shifting torso forward, knees underneath hips. Walking hands underneath shoulders. And coming back onto our backs for just a brief moment here. Taking a block, for me personally, I know I will want one to ground my foot into. We're prepared to do Gardasana or eagle pose, supine, so on our back. We're going to work on this pose today, break it down in some different ways. But first, to see where we are in our bodies today. Bringing left flat foot to the mat, right leg will cross over ankle or over shin, whatever feels comfortable for you. Right foot, maybe you tuck it behind the calf, or I ground it into my block. Arms reach up towards the sky. Right arm crosses on top of left. Maybe hands come to shoulders, or I bend at the elbows, palms together, backs of hands together. Maybe my hands come to the forearms or to the elbows. All are great options. As I inhale, drawing elbows up and then away from the body. From here, see if you can draw the spine down into the mat, engaging the abdomen, drawing it in and up. So even though we are contracting muscles, we're engaging, breathe deep. See if you can release any tension that you're holding onto aside from those engagements. Notice how you feel right here in the body. See if you can keep the hips level onto the mat, spine along the mat. And then as you exhale, open arms and legs wide, as if you're a giant sea star or starfish. Deep breath in and exhale it away. Right flat foot to the mat. Left leg crosses over either shin or above the knee. Maybe you hook the left leg around the calf, or you ground into the floor or a block. All options. One is not better than another. Inhale, arms reach up. Take a moment here and then draw the shoulder heads back down along the floor. Back into the sockets, crossing left arm over right, bending at elbows and finding your Gardasana arms. So maybe palms are together, maybe palms are at shoulders. Inhale, elbows reach forward or up towards the ceiling, away. And then trying to draw the spine down along the mat. Noticing the hips, noticing the shoulders. Can you find the support along the mat here? Do you feel strong and steady and stable? Is the breath flowing freely? And then as you exhale, once again, opening legs and arms wide into our C-star. Sorry, I'm a biologist, so I can get really hung up on calling things fish and things, so I try not to do that. Deep breath in and exhale it out. So taking these notes and building upon that today in our practice. From here, making our way up into standing, Tadasana. Meeting at the top of our mat, grounding down into the heels, reaching up through the crown of the head, shoulders back and down. Creating our arches, lifting the inner arch. And as we inhale, softening knees, arms reach up overhead, our Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, bending knees, tucking chin towards chest as we fold forward into our Uttanasana, possibly reaching for blocks. Flexion into the hips and not into the spine, especially if we have any lower back issues. Grounding into the feet, inhale, halfway rise, reaching the crown and the tailbone in opposite directions. And then again, draw the shoulder heads back into the shoulder sockets. Exhale, fold forward. Deep breath in, and as you exhale, possibly folding a little bit more. Just seeing where you are today, what is available for you. Grounding down into the feet, bending knees, and inhale, reverse as you reach all the way back up towards the sky. And meeting down into Tadasana. Deep breath in, bending knees, reaching up, exhale, swan diving down into our forward fold Uttanasana. Softening the knees, shoulders into sockets, inhale, halfway rise. Wherever that is, maybe hands are on shins, maybe they're on quadriceps. Exhale, fold. From here, bending knees deeply, placing hands upon the mat, stepping right leg back, right knee down. Meeting in a low lunge. Maybe hands come to blocks. Just taking a moment right here, waking up the hips. Back toes turn under. And then we'll step the left foot back to meet the right, meeting at plank pose, Palakasana. Welcome to release knees down. Regardless, wherever we are, knees down or up, chest will telescope out. So we're reaching it forward, engaging abdomen. As you exhale, releasing knees down. And then pressing in through the toes, lifting hips up and back, meeting in our downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Deep breath here. Welcome to alternate the heels into the mat as you bend the knees. Just waking up the legs, waking up the spine. One more deep breath in, and as you exhale, bend the knees deeply and press the hips back to the wall behind you as you press into the hands. So we're in our downward dog, and we're just going to exaggerate here a little. And as we inhale, shifting way over to the left leg, right leg steps forward, left knee down into our lunge. Deep breath here. Back toes turn under, maybe tempting the fingers and finding our way up into our Uttanasana. Noticing if we're placing the weight into the heels, into the ball of the foot, bending knees slightly, and when you're ready, grounding into the feet, inhale all the way up, reaching up, and exhaling down into mountain. Deep breath in, and exhale it out. When you're ready, we'll inhale, reaching up, exhale, swan diving down into our forward fold. Noticing how this fold feels now. Inhale, halfway rise, and exhale, fold. From here, bending the left leg, stepping right leg back, widening the stance a little bit. I know my stance is a bit narrow, so for me, I'll need to walk my left foot towards the long edge of my mat. When I'm ready, I'll ground into the entire left foot. Inhale, coming up. Ashtachandrasana, or our high lunge. Pressing into the left foot, squeezing right glute. Left hip back, right hip forward, lifting chest. Deep breath here. One more breath. As we exhale, hands come down. Stepping left foot back to meet right, meeting in plank pose, Palakasana. Welcome to release knees down. Chest is going to reach forward. And as we exhale, releasing knees down, turning toes under, and go ahead and press into the hands as you lift the knees, as you bring the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Breathe here. Lengthening the spine. Shifting the weight over to the left leg, right leg rises, stepping between the palms. Walking our right foot towards the long edge of the mat. However wide that is going to be dependent on you and how you feel strong and steady. When you're ready, maybe we stay here. Or hand can come up, help us come all the way up. Finding your variation of Ashtachandrasana or high lunge. Deep breath. Right hip back, left hip forward. Exhale, hands release down. Maybe you take multiple small steps or one big step forward, meeting in Uttanasana or forward fold. Pausing here, flexion into the hips. And so maybe that means that I bend my knees a little bit more. And that's okay. Grounding into the feet, bending knees, and reverse as we reach up to the sky and down to mountain. Taking a moment here, maybe closing down the eyes or setting the gaze upon one object. Just noticing the sensations throughout the body, becoming aware of anything that comes up in the mind. Deep breath in, exhaling it out. From here, shifting the weight to the right leg, left leg steps back, and turning the foot, kind of depends on each individual's knee. I like to have mine at a 45-degree angle or parallel. Just kind of depends on if my knee feels a little tweaked, I'll turn my toes in. From here, arms reach out, and as we exhale, reach forward as far as you can, getting as much length here and here, and then exhale, coming down into Utthita Trikonasana. Maybe using a block on the outside of the right foot. Possibly my left arm is reaching up. I can bring it down to the hip and feel to draw the left shoulder back, as well as the left hip. Opening up. If we have any lower back or SI joint issues, left leg can step inward and out. Deep breath in. If the hamstrings are tight, you are welcome to bend the knee here. As we exhale, softening right knee, left hand comes down, coming up onto the toes of the left foot, stepping left foot inward and out towards the long edge of the mat, widening the stance. Right hip comes back, lifting chest. Parsvottanasana, or pyramid pose. Intense siding, or siding? A few different names. Feeling to draw right hip back. Welcome to use blocks. When I'm practicing this at home, I oftentimes will use a seat of a chair. Or an ottoman. I find that's a good height for me. To be able to elongate the spine. Chest is lifted, so I'm not rounding into the shoulders. Softening right foot, grounding into the right foot. Big step forward with the left foot, meeting in Uttanasana. Forward fold. Bending knees, tucking chin towards chest in reverse as we reach up to side. And exhale, down to mountain. And from here, we will shift weight to the left leg as right leg steps back. Back foot again, if can be either parallel or slightly turned, just depending on how your knee is feeling. Inhale, arms reach out, so stacking shoulders over hips. As we exhale, reaching forward, and then bringing the left hand down, either to a block, maybe to the shin. Just be mindful not to hyperextend the left knee, as I just did. So giving yourself a slight bend. Any SI joint issues, widening the stance and stepping the back foot in and forward. Deep breath. Feeling to draw the right shoulder and hip up and back. One more breath here. And as we exhale, softening left knee deeply, right hand comes down, coming up onto the toes of the right foot. Stepping right foot in and out, and then feeling to draw left hip back, lifting chest. Hands might come up to a block, finding your pyramid pose here. Deep breath. Sometimes I like to take my thumb and place it in the hip pocket there, whichever leg is up, foot is at the front of the mat, and feel to draw that hip back. Just a nice reminder. Softening, left knee coming up onto the toes of the right. Big step forward. Inhale, halfway rise. And exhale, fold. Uttanasana. Bending knees, tucking chin towards chest in reverse. We round down into the feet, reaching up. And exhale, down to mountain. Taking a moment here. Beginning to work on some standing balances. I will have a block handy. Meeting in Tadasana, taking a moment and finding something to set our gaze upon, or our drishti. About eye level, not moving. From here, we'll shift the weight over to the right leg, coming up onto the toes of the left. Level out hips, engaging abdomen, reach up through the crown of the head. Soften left knee. Squeeze glutes. Inhale, begin to draw right knee up. And maybe my right foot just comes to a block. Same actions are all occurring. Level out hips, engaging abdomen. Deep breath. See where you find ease, comfort, and steadiness in this pose. Maybe I bend my standing leg a little deeper because I feel a little unsteady, so I shorten my lever. As I do so, drawing torso back, so it's stacked over the pelvic bowl is over ankle. And gently exhale and step it out. And then we'll switch to the opposite side, and we'll continue to build on this, creating our steadiness, making our way to our Gardasana pose. So again, meeting in our mountain, finding our dristi, shifting weight over to the right leg this time, coming up onto the toes of the left, leveling out hips, engaging abdomen, reach up through the crown of the head, soften right knee so it's not hyperextended. When you're ready, beginning to draw left foot up. It's okay if you're a little unsteady. Bending right leg a little bit deeper, shortening the lever, grounding into the heel. Deep breath here. And gently exhaling, dissolving the pose. Step it out, let go of any frustrations. They only build. Okay, so coming back into our mountain pose. So our tree pose, Vrikshasana, may look a little different today than what you may typically practice, as I really would like for you to focus on that balance of ease and effort. So working within our range of motion, grounding down into the feet, reaching up through the crown of the head. When you are ready, shifting weight over to the left leg, coming up onto toes of right, softening right or left knee. From here, turning the right knee out, and find where that is for you, where the left hip stays where it is. So my right knee's not out far enough that the left hip is coming in towards the right. I feel strong and steady here. Envision a tree in a hurricane. You want to be able to have those force winds and still be strong and steady. From here, maybe the foot comes up along the inside of the left foot or leg, or maybe it comes to a block. But again, allowing yourself to be strong and steady here. Those hurricane force winds come by, you want to be a tree that's still standing. So finding wherever that is, where you can still ground down. Arms are wherever that's comfortable for you. I'm a little unsteady, bend the standing leg a little bit. And then gently bringing the hands down and ground the toes maybe down into the mat for just a moment. So playing with this concept a little. From here, taking the right knee and draw it as if it's going to come straight out, what you see in magazines. And just get an idea for how this feels. Does this feel okay for you? Maybe, maybe not. Is the left hip drawn back or is it forward? Mine has shifted pretty far forward. And so I know this isn't where I need to be. I actually feel a lot of discomfort in my right hip. So, and taking a moment and begin to draw the leg inward from there, left hip comes back. Just notice where that is for you. Gently step it out. Now we'll find that on the opposite side. So grounding down, reaching up through the crown of the head, finding your drishti. And when you're ready, shifting weight over to the right leg as you come up onto the toes of the left, leveling out hips, engaging abdomen, turning the knee out, finding where that is for you, softening right knee, and beginning to maybe work the leg up, maybe it stays down, perfectly fine options. Arms can reach up, they can come to our Anjali Mudra or to prayer, whatever that is. Deep breath here. Still challenging, even though we're making it more accessible. And hopefully you can begin to find a little bit of ease to where you can even enjoy those fluctuations in the pose that you may be experiencing. And as you exhale, gently dissolve, and we'll step it out. Quickly, a Nada Rajasana, which is not the King Dancer pose you may be thinking of, but a different variation that I like to teach before we move into Garudasana. I will place a block just in front of me. Again, sometimes I like to ground into it, sometimes I don't. But meeting into Tadasana, shoulders back and down, abdomen engaged, knees soft. Shifting the weight over to the left leg, coming up onto toes of the right. From here, arms reach forward. When I'm ready, I'll draw the right knee up and then bring it in front of the left leg. Right leg is forward, so right arm reaches up, bending at elbow, palm faces away. Left arm bends at elbow, palm faces torso. If I feel unsteady, bend the standing leg, pause here. Deep breath. Round down into the left foot. I can bring my toes to the block, I can bring them to the floor. I can practice along the wall. Again, finding where you can practice this pose. Steady, comfort, and ease. Can the energy flow from the feet to the head, from the head to the feet? Exhale, gently dissolve, and step it out. And then, Nada Rajasana on the opposite side. And that just means King Dancer pose. So shifting the weight over to the right leg, coming up onto toes of the left. We'll cross the left leg over. Maybe I ground down into the floor or a block. Maybe it floats and I press through the heel. Standing leg is going to bend slightly. Arms reach up. Left arm reaches all the way up, bending at elbow, palm facing away. Right arm bends at elbow, palm facing torso. I love this pose. It's one of my favorites. I always think of a mannequin in a storefront, even though we don't really have storefronts anymore. I am old enough to know storefronts. Deep breath in, and then we'll exhale it out and gently step it out. Okay, preparing for our Garudasana. So, meeting in mountain pose, shoulders back and down, abdomen's engaged, protecting lumbar spine. Shifting weight over to the left leg, coming up onto the toes of the right, and I'll go ahead and cross the right leg over left. Maybe I ground into a block or the floor. Maybe I bend my right leg or left leg deeply and then hook the right leg behind. As I do that though, my knees want to turn over to the left. Ideally, we want them center. I can't get there today, so practicing effort and ease, I'm going to release the legs. Arms reach forward, pressing right arm on top, bending at elbows. Hands can be at shoulders, they can be here, here, here. If arms are crossed, we'll inhale, drawing the elbows up and away. Deep breath in. And as we exhale, Gently releasing, stepping it out. And then releasing down. Finding our way back into our mountain pose. And just taking a moment, thinking about how that pose felt standing versus supine on our back. Were you able to find that same amount of ease and effort? So meeting in mountain, preparing for the opposite side. Shifting my block over because I know my knees are not going to want to go to center. And from here, I'll shift the weight over to the right leg, coming up on toes of the left, crossing left leg over. Maybe bending knees deeply, arms reaching forward, crossing at the elbows, finding your Gardasana arms or eagle arms. Making sure to engage abdomen, protecting the lumbar spine. It's really easy here to want to over-exaggerate the arch in the back. So taking a moment, noticing the hips, noticing the knees. Are the hips level? Are you finding that effort and ease? Can the energy flow freely? Deep breath in, and as you exhale, step it out and open it wide. Releasing the hands down. On your next exhalation, softening the knees and hinging forward at the hips. Hands coming down to the floor or to blocks. Deep breath in. And let it go. Softening knees as we lift the head, coming halfway up. And we'll make our way down into a seat. We'll do a little bit of breath work here. Pranayama, now that the body is warm. We've moved some of the tension out. So we'll apply a count today. Usually at the beginning of class, I don't recommend paying attention to the numbers, but when we are actually doing the pranayama, it can be helpful. But if you do notice that it elicits any feelings of anxiousness or anxiety in you, by all means, please let that go. And by that I mean let doing the pranayama go. Bringing the hands together into our Anjali Mudra. Together we'll inhale, taking a deep breath in, and then as you exhale, begin to pull the hands apart. And then we'll inhale, bringing the hands in. And then as you exhale, pulling hands apart. And we're just going to add to this. On your next inhalation, we'll inhale for a count of 4, and I will count, we'll bring the hands together. 1, 2, 3, 4. As we exhale, we'll pull the hands apart for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to add a second to the exhalation. Exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Adding again. Exhaling for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhaling for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling for 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax the hands down. Just take a moment here, closing down the eyes, noticing the body and breath. And then from here, we'll make our way down onto our backs, preparing for our final Shavasana. So if you know that you would like a blanket rolled underneath the knees, go ahead and prepare that now. Or a blanket over the body. If anybody would like additional blankets or bolsters, let me know. I'm happy to grab them. Taking a deep breath in and exhaling it out, and allowing the body, again, to find that weightiness. Noticing those areas, providing support. Allowing the absorption of your practice, that integration, finding of wholeness. Closing down the eyes, or setting the gaze upon one object. Releasing the bottom jaw, softening the forehead, allowing the fingertips to curl, possibly knees, ankles, and feet turn out. And the breath to be whatever it is, that native breath. this by all means. If it does not resonate with you, you do not have to do it out loud. But if you would like to join me, bringing the hands together, pressing thumbs into sternum, we'll take a deep breath in, and on the exhalation, we'll begin to hum until you've completely exhaled. Thank you all for joining me today. It's truly an honor to be a part of your practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.